Hello students and welcome to SmartKidz tutorials. As requested by you, I'm making a video on some sure shot questions that will most likely be coming for the upcoming examination, and we'll discuss how we can study better or prepare better for the science examination. So let's begin and see how much we can score using some tips and tricks to study better, smarter. Okay, so here is a model paper of or a sample paper of science by Goa board. Okay, and we have a look over here that in the instructions itself it tells you that this 30 marks paper is divided into 3 main questions. Okay, just like in maths where it was 40 marks paper divided into 4 main questions, each question being 10 marks each. So here also each question being 10 marks each. However, this paper is different from maths, as in like you can't predict what type of what questions will come. Okay, similar type of questions can come, but you can't, because in science there is a lot of things that can be given. You can even to get one answer, you can have many questions. I mean, you can twist one question in many ways for the same answer. And that is why it is important that you not only memorize, but you also understand wherever possible what it is. Because there are a lot of application questions. What stresses on application type question. Application type questions means you have to apply your mind using the knowledge that you have gained by reading and by understanding the concepts of science that is there for you in this term 2. Okay. So, if we have a look, question 1A, question 1A, question 2A will include all 1 mark, even question 3A. Over here, we have like MCQ type question, okay, which you're familiar with. And in question 2A, if we have a look, there's a match the column, okay, and both these are for 1 mark. Now, question 1B, 1C, 1D can be anything. Now, the question is, if you look, there is a heart diagram over here. Now, many ask this question whether we need to learn to draw the heart diagram. Now, mostly what they do is the live processing section, which will include probably the heart, okay, or maybe even the urinary system. There they expect you to know the diagram, okay. Now they are free to give you the diagram, as in to draw the diagram and label it, or they will give a diagram like this and you will be asked to label. Now mostly what they do is they try to give you a diagram and ask you to label it. Not to label it, but you should know what is where. And if you have been drawing these structures, these diagrams, then you will know what to label. Where to label, unless you have a very good photographic memory. Okay. Now, why do they do that? They are free, as I said, to give you even a diagram over there. So even if a diagram says, you can't protest and say, no, this is not how it should have come. No, they are free to do so. Now, why they try to give you here is to save you on time and make sure that you finish the paper in time. Because there's another diagram that you need to draw, and that will be a diagram that will be highly unlikely that it will come for labeling, and that is your ray diagram, that is for a light, okay, for mirror or for lenses, wherein you will have to draw the ray diagram and then state whether it is a real and inverted or a virtual and erect. Okay, so there they expect you to draw the diagram. There may be 1 or 2 minor diagrams also that you may find here and there, but which we can't say. It depends on the person who's setting the paper. That person is at liberty to give you something different. Okay, it's not always that the person who sets the paper sticks to the model paper. The model paper is supposed to be like a guide for you, and also a guide for the person who sets the paper, that this type of questions need to be set. But it doesn't mean that the person who's setting the paper has to stick to the model paper. So to say that, okay, it will come like that, especially for science. So it is important to know. Otherwise, you will, when it will come, you will say like, why it was not even there? Then how come it came? Okay, so no, they are at liberty to do so. But uh, if the person who sets the paper is understandable, we go on to set a similar paper like your model paper or like your prelims paper. With your prelim paper, you would have come to know now what type of questions come, how they come, and how long it takes you to answer, and you know the type of application question that can come. Okay, now all the type of application questions cannot be addressed via your digests or via your tuitions or via your classroom lectures. Sometimes you have to use your brain, apply your brain to certain what you can say questions. Okay, so here we can't say for sure what type of questions will come. Some questions which are highly repeated, that is what I'm going to discuss in this particular video. But they are all, if you have a look, 1 mark questions, 2 mark, there is a 3 mark question here, but it is divided into 3 questions, which means each question ultimately will have 1 mark each. Here you have a hard diagram, and here again there are 4 questions under this, if you notice. Okay, there is 1, under question 1 there is A, B and C, which will be 1 mark each, and then there is question D2, okay, 1D2, and it says state 2 functions of bile juice in the digestion of food. So totally 4 more. So unlike your maths, which generously gives marks for each question, here it is more like very stingy in giving marks. Half a mark, 1 mark. Rarely you will come across where it will be giving you 2 marks. That will be for your re-diagram, that it will give you 2 marks. Okay, but otherwise it will always be 1 mark, half mark, 1 mark, half mark. Okay, and also understand that your paper is only out of 30 marks and not out of 40 marks. Okay, so but still there's a lot of content that is packed into this 30 marks. So you have to study a lot. And before I proceed further, there have been questions in the past which I would like to address about. So what if I passed in the term 1 and I made up my marks in term 1? Should I even if I fail, is it okay in term 2? Well, that depends on your overall marks and your overall performance. Like for example, Goa board says, even if you have got full marks in term 1, but you fail to attend your term 2 examination, you're considered as failed. Okay. Now fail won't mean many things. You're allowed to keep terms sometimes. Sometimes you will have to stay back. You do not repeat 10 standard. Okay. There are many who have this question. Will I be repeating the 10 standard? No. Unlike other classes, you do not repeat 10 standard, but you're not allowed to proceed to 11 standard. Neither are you allowed to sit back in the 10th standard. You are out of the school and not in the high secondary. You will be at home and waiting till whenever their examination comes next, which will maybe in October, November, or maybe next April. Depends on you. Whenever you wish to give the examination, depend on your preparation if you have failed. But you lose that year. That is the whole idea. You lose that year, and then so when 9th standard students pass out from 10th standard, you will be with them in the 11th standard if you fail. Okay, but that is coming to fail. I would suggest put in effort, focus on few questions which are most likely to come, and you will pass. Okay, now don't ask me what is the passing mark, because a passing mark in the theory really doesn't matter. Overall is what you need to pass. But yes, you need to get certain marks. Now do not expect miserable marks and expect to be promoted. Okay, certain conditions they can exist. Okay, but avoid. What I try not to get into is telling you the exact marks which are required to pass. Okay, that should not be your intention. See, when you aim for like something like say 10 marks, you will never get 10 marks. You will always end up getting less than 10, which means you will fall below the target. So why not aim for more? And you will end up getting the marks that you need. And why think about failing when you can pass, when you can work? If now you are not thinking of studying, then later on you will not be able to study and not be able to face bigger tasks. Okay, so avoid all that. Now the level is less. Okay, you may think 10th standard I have to study so much. What do you think people who do graduation do? Study less? No. The higher you go, the more you have to study. Okay, the more you have to work hard. It is not like, okay, 10th standard is done, now I'll keep my legs on top and I'll relax. No. There is a lot more hard work to be done. It is just one of your exams. Okay. So same way, if you end up getting less marks, no need to be disheartened. Many more exams will come in life. Okay, and go like that. It depends on what you lay more importance on and how hard you work. If you have worked hard, then that is what? The hard work should satisfy you. And that should not be like, okay, I did 1 hour, I used to do 1 hour of study, now I did 1.5 hours of study, that is hard work to me. No. Hard work means pushing yourself to your limits, testing your limits. You have to see where it, without somebody else pushing, without your parents pushing you or something. Anyways, we'll come back to this. Okay. So I just try to address a few things which usually get asked in the comment section, and I can't really type too much over there for you to understand. So I thought if you're watching this video, you will be able to, this issues might be addressed. Okay. So this is this first 2 pages of your this thing, and if you notice over here, there are name the following sections. Then there are 1 mark questions, some of which are direct, some of which are application questions. Then you have the next part, the 3rd and 4th page. If you look over here, 3rd part, which is dealing more with your light chapter, then your it will deal with even carbon and compounds, okay, and environment. These chapters are being there. But overall, it's a mixture of something easy, something not so easy, and something difficult. Okay, and that depends on your also on your how you can apply your mind. So we'll quickly go into the type of questions. Most of you must have seen this model paper. This model paper is also put up on the site. If you want, I can put the link in the description below. Okay, but we'll quickly go through the type of questions that can come. So understanding the concepts is the key. Okay, if you understand the concepts, it is very, very easy then to apply your mind to, or apply answer application type questions. First you need to read, then you need to understand, then you need to practice, then you need to revise. Now if you say, sir, we don't have time for all this thing, you will not have time to understand everything, but certain things that go difficult, okay, for you to remember, at least try to apply this. Try to read, make sense out of it, understand it, okay, then look to practice it if it is a practice problem, which are mostly easy. Okay, like for or practice the diagrams, like for example ray diagrams. For some it becomes difficult to understand what you don't actually have to memorize the ray diagrams. If you understand a very simple thing, look at where the object is placed. Okay, the object will be towards your left, especially in case of mirror diagram, and you will have the image on the right hand side. And when the object comes closer, when the object moves towards the right, your image will begin moving towards the left. Finally they come to a point where they are both meeting at same point. Okay, where the object and the image are at the same point, and when they are at the same point, their sizes are also the same. Then what happens? Then the image moves towards infinity where object was first, and now the object is come to the point where the image was before. So like this, if you notice and draw a little bit, plus a few principles of like, okay, what happens to a ray of light when it passes through the focus? What happens to a ray of light when it is parallel to the principal axis? Few things, if you know, it will help you. Also important to note while I am discussing light over here is that the arrows carry half a mark. I'm not sure if you have been told, but make sure you mark the arrows. Also make sure you mark your object and your image. Okay. Yes, you will. And also another thing, when you mark the image, it should be B dash E dash, especially if it is inverted. Okay. If it is erect, then it will be A dash B dash. E dash, so look at the orientation. E dash B dash B dash E dash for inverted. Okay. It is important. Always mark object and image. Some look forward to it. Sometimes it will be given, sometimes it will not be given. It's better you just mark one arrow and say this is the object, this is the image. Okay. So this is about light. So important to read, understand, practice, and then revise. Each one is different, and your capacity, your capability are different. So this is just my way of telling you this is what you can do to understand. Because if you understand, you will remember it better rather than memorizing. So chapter wise, if we look at we have this following chapters and their respective marks. So carbon and its compounds, light, reflection and refraction, and life processes. These three chapters have got the maximum marks, 5 each, followed by periodic classification of elements, human eye and colorful world, 4 each. There's 3 marks for heredity and evolution, 2 each for our environment and management of natural resources. So you can see with the bulk of the marks are over in these 5 chapters. Okay, so this is where you need to focus on. If you focus on, now some may just want to pass, some may want to gain more than just passing marks, and some would like to score very high and even full marks. So for that, accordingly, you need to study. So we'll have a look at what to focus on each and every chapter. In carbon and its compounds, which is of 5 marks, okay, what you can focus on is the differences between alkanes, alkenes and alkynes. Study what are alkanes, what are alkenes, what are, with one example. Also look at their general formula. Most probably you may be asked for a differentiation between alkanes and alkynes or alkanes and alkenes based on their bond formation. You have to understand alkenes are single bond. The bond between 2 carbon atoms is single. Here it is double, here it is triple. So this is also where we come to a differentiation between saturated and unsaturated carbon, hydrocarbon. Then with respect to combustion, you may be asked whether what type, whether they burn with a yellow flame or a blue flame, whether they give any smoke or they burn with some sooty texture or whatever. Okay, so this is what you need to know, and also their structures. They're very easy. Just you need to study one of them to understand. You just put a double bond, it becomes an alkene. You put a triple bond, it becomes. Only you need to understand what happens then to the carbon atom. Surrounding the carbon atom, you have 4 bonds because the valency of carbon is 4. Now, whether there are 3 bonds linked with at one side and 1 on the other side, or there are four single bonds on all sides of the carbon, it doesn't matter. What will change is like where you're at. As in, like if you're asked about an alkane, then you need to have single bonds surrounding a carbon atom. If you're asked for a double bond, then you may show a double bond linked with 2 carbon atoms. And if it's a triple bond, you may show 3 lines between 2 carbon atoms. Depends. Then we come to the electronic dot structure. Again, for this electronic dot structure also, you need to know the electronic configuration. If you know the electronic configuration and how the bond formation takes place, then it is easy. It can come for methane, ethane. Most probably it will come for something like oxygen or nitrogen, which you need to, it is there in your textbook as well. So please refer to the electronic dot structures, especially of oxygen and nitrogen. Homologous series, I think it came in the prelims as well. Okay, you just need to know an example, or you need to know to identify a homologous series. It will be given over there. The homologous series will be given. You need to identify it as a homologous series and probably the functional group linked to that. That means here in this case it is a chlorine group. So this is chloromethane, then chloroethane. Okay, so you should know this. Then saturated, I have already discussed about saturated and unsaturated are the ones which have single bond. And unsaturated could be double and or triple bond, or double and triple bond can also be in the same hydrocarbon. Homologous and heterologous series, a differentiation between the two. Covalent and ionic bonds, cyclohexane versus benzene. So even if you know the structure, okay, then in benzene you will have 3 double bonds, but in cyclohexane it's all made up of a single bond, but both are cyclic structures. Okay, so certain things that I mentioned over here can come. I'm not saying 100% all will come, or 100% or 100% one of these will come. Maybe nothing of this can also come. Okay, because what I've put down is what has been repeated over the number of years from this particular chapter. So likelihood of this coming is very high, but there is always scope for a different question that can come through this. Okay. Next, we come to light reflection. Here, the choices are very simple and straightforward. You will have two choices with respect to either mirror or lens. One question will deal with mirror, another question will the choice of it will deal with lens. So either you can study for mirror. If you study for mirror, that means you study the mirror diagrams, and also you study the application questions with respect to mirror. Or you can skip mirror completely and study only about lens, study the diagrams which come about lens, and any applications that with respect to lens only. In this way, you can choose what you wish to study. So some do only mirror and leave out lens. That's fine. Okay. However, you need to know the mirror formula and lens formula, irrespective of whether you learn about mirror or you should know mirror formula, lens formula. There's only minor difference between the two, but you should know. Also, you should know the problem on power, that is P is equal to 1 upon F. Okay, very simple. Of course, if it is the focal length is given in centimeters, then you should know how to get it converted to meters. Okay, and do not forget the unit of power. That is important. It comes in 1D, 2D, 3D. Okay, don't write meters, centimeters over there. You'll get it wrong. Magnification formula you should know, minus V upon U. Okay, also can come linked to this mirror formula or lens formula. We should know laws of reflection or refraction. Other application questions can come with respect to the rainbow effect and so forth. What happens, like for example, what happens if you pass white light through a prism and then keep another prism, okay, on the other side of this original prism in an inverted fashion? What will be the light coming out? So that is part of the experiment that was done, okay, to show that light comprises of rainbow colors. Okay, so what happens is when you pass light through a prism, okay, kept in the upright position, then you get rainbow colors. But with the same rainbow colors, if they are allowed to pass through another prism which is now kept inverted, then the color that will come out from that prism will be white light, suggesting that white light is made up of these 7 rainbow colors. Okay, because the 7 rainbow colors can then combine to give you once again the white light. So certain things like this will come as an application question. But these are your main this thing. You'll have 2 marks for your diagram. Then you will ask to state what is the nature of the image, the size of the image. So your real and inverted, whether it's enlarged or whether it's diminished. Okay. And one problem will come, which is very easy problem. You can also get problem where you're given the radius of curvature, asked to find the focal length, or if you're given the focal length, asked to find the radius of curvature. Sometimes it may be direct, sometimes it may be in an indirect fashion as well. Okay, like for example, you may be asked to find the radius of curvature when you're given the object distance and also given the image distance. So you have to apply the mirror formula to get or the lens formula to get the focal length, and from that focal length then you can get the radius of curvature as well. Okay, so this is about reflection and reflection. 5 marks for this, 2 marks directly from the diagram. Please study the diagram. It is coming. Either study mirror or lens. Light process, another chapter which will have 5 marks. Okay. Now in this, there is a lot to be asked and I just couldn't fit everything. Whatever I felt is more highly repeatable questions, those are the ones that I've mentioned over here. Okay. Now, many ask about diagrams, and I mentioned as well before. Now in this, mostly what you will be asked is you will be given a diagram of the heart or the excretory system or the respiratory system or even the alimentary canal, and you will be asked to label the part first, that is the identify and label the part. Next, you will be asked to give the function of that. So you should know, if you are asked for the liver or maybe the gallbladder, you should know what, or maybe the pancreas, you should know what are their function, and maybe some application with respect to that as well. Okay, that you can be asked, for example, gallbladder. Okay, then you have bile salts. What is the role of bile salts? Okay, why are they important? Okay, what is the role in case of fat? What do they do to the fat? This is what you should know. Diagram, if it comes straightforward, that it could be nutrition in a beaver. There's a 50-50 chance that it can come. Okay, but these are more likely to come. Okay, then you have something that will be asked straightforward, like what are nephrons? What is the role of gallbladder? What is the main function of kidneys? Or what is the main function of capillaries? What do they do? What is transpiration? What is translocation in plants? What do card cells do? What is gives the function of iota? Okay, these are straightforward questions, 1 mark questions that can come. You give results are the most favorite ones to come under life processes. And these are for 1 mark, but you can have 2 questions coming under give reasons in life processes. So some most frequently repeated ones are herbivores have a long intestine, give reason. Blood flows twice through human heart, give reason. Veins have valves, why do they have valves? Urination can be controlled, okay, how to we control urination? Athletes get cramps, why do they get cramp? Arteries have thick walls, okay, elastic walls, okay, that is the difference. You should know arteries have thick elastic walls. Veins do not veins have thin walls, but they have valves, whereas arteries do not have valve. This can also come. Rate of breathing is faster in aquatic animals. These are some questions which have kept on repeating. May come, may not come. There's a whole lot of things that can be asked, okay, in life processes. Can't cramp everything over here, but more likely questions. Then you have periodic classification of elements. So this is of 4 marks. Okay. Here also there's one thing that is repeated every now and then is finding the group and period of element. You should know how to do that. If you do not know how to do that, I am providing a link. There's a video that I've done. You can go through and find out how to find out groups and periods of a particular element. Okay. Also, I will give you how to, if you do not know how to find out the electronic configuration, how to write them, what is valency and so forth. You should know about Dobrinus triads and their limitations. Also, you should know Mendeleev's periodic table and also 2 limitations of Mendeleev as to why they switched to the modern periodic table. Then you should know the difference between Mendeleev's periodic table and modern periodic table with respect to their definitions. Okay. Now this is an alternative. I mean, you may or may not do it. Okay. That is learn 1 to 20 elements. Okay. And for this also there's a video. I'm putting the link in the description box. If you have time, go through that and see. May find it helpful. Now, most favorite questions are with respect to what happens when you go down the group or across a periodic table. What happens? Okay, what happens with respect to the metallic character? What happens to the atomic size? What happens to the ionic character or the covalent character? Okay, electropositivity. What happens? Okay, down the group, across a period. What happens? So this could come. So you should know. Basic thing you should know, down the group when you go, there are electronic shells being added, okay, and across the group, shells are not added, so it remains the same, okay. What happens down the group? What happens to the force of the nuclear attraction, okay? Why does it decrease down the group? Why does it increase across a period? All this you should know. If you know this basic, you can answer all this question. So it is mentioned in the video. Kindly go through that video. But very limited things are usually asked from periodic classification. This is, if you understand this chapter with respect to whatever I put down, okay, you can score even full marks in this. Okay, if the questions are not that difficult. Okay. Next, human eye in a colorful world. Again, 4 marks for this. Okay, here also straightforward. Main thing in this question is about myopia, hypermetropia, and presbyopia. You should know the definition of each of them. What do you mean by myopia? What is the condition? What is the condition of myopia, hypermetropia, and presbyopia? Also, I have forgotten to mention over here about cataract. Cataract also, you should know what is cataract. Okay, and what are the symptoms, problem? Oh, because the problems may not be asked, you will be given the problem and asked to identify what that person has. So if the symptoms match cataract, you should be able to identify it as a cataract problem. Okay, very easily treatable by way of operation. Even these are treated. You should know the type of lenses that are used for myopia to correct the defect of myopia, hypermetropia. The diagrams, very, very important of myopia and hypermetropia. You will be asked to draw the defect and do the correction. Okay, so you should know what lenses are going over there and what type of defect it is. Other things that could be asked, why is the color of the sky blue? Why do stars twinkle but planets do not twinkle? Other thing is color of the sky and when the sun rises or the sunset. Even the other thing that can be asked is why can we see the sun, okay, 2 minutes before sunrise, and why can we see the sun still 2 minutes after the sunset? That link to all this, okay, you should know this part. Then function of the iris, pupil, ciliary muscle, retina, you should know. White light passing through prism, again linked to the what we have just mentioned in the previous chapter. Previous chapter as in that of the light. Okay, far point and near point of the eye. You should know the definition of far point and near point of the eye. And also there are a few other definition of that you should know here and there. But these are the ones that are mostly asked. Heredity and evolution for 3 marks. You should know what are acquired traits and inherited traits. One example, if you the definition itself, if you know that it is more than enough. Acquired traits are those which you get along the way. And like for example, if you get hurt and you get a scar, that is acquired trait. Okay, that is not passed on to the next generation. Whereas inherited traits are something that comes to you from birth, like having, if your family has high blood pressure, you will also have high blood pressure. That is inherited trait. Definitions you should know of heredity, speciation, mutation, genetic drift, natural selection, gene, chromosome, DNA. Okay, all these definitions you should know. Mendel's experiments with F1 and F2 pea plants you should know. Okay, so you should know what it means by monohybrid cross or dihybrid cross. You may be even given an experiment to test whether you have what knowledge you acquired from these experiments. You should know whatever plants Mendel got in F1, whatever plants Mendel got in F2, in what ratio. So you should know about 3:1 ratio. You should know about 9:3:3:1 ratio. Okay, that is there in your textbook. You should know about factors that led to the rise of a new species, difference between phenotype and genotype. What do they mean? Definition of them. Certain things you should know. Then about our environment, this is only of 2 marks. The most favorite question is about trophic levels, wherein you will be given 3 animals, like for example, frogs, snakes, and eagle. And they will be given random order. You will have to be asked to place them in correct order. And thereafter name what is the primary consumer, what is the secondary consumer, and so forth. Be prepared for that. And then a question with respect to something like what will happen if there are no eagles at all. Okay, then you should be able to answer that the population of snakes will grow and the frogs will be finished. Something like of that. You should know what is biomagnification, very, very important. Most favorite question also is food chain is unidirectional, as in 10% is lost in every trophic level. You should know why. The ill effects of ozone layer, also the beneficial part of an ozone layer. Ozone is a poisonous gas. CFC, what is full form of CFC and 2 drawbacks of CFC. a differentiation between absolute dating versus relative dating. This you should know in case of our environment. Management of natural resources. Okay, in this there are number of things. One favorite question that is usually always asked is the ancient water harvesting methods. You should know this in every state. Okay, because this will be asked. Another thing that can be asked is about this Chipko movement and or about what consequences of raising the dam height, or even who are the stakeholders of forest. Very, very important questions. You should also know what is a greenhouse effect. Then you should know the difference between reduce, recycled, reuse, the 3 Rs. Okay. Or you may be asked an application question like how do we reduce electricity consumption? Something like this. Apart from that, you may be also asked about the advantages of water stored in ground. So these are the most likely questions that could come. Also, they could ask you about biodiversity hotspots and how do we manage our natural resources based on the title of the topic itself. Okay. So many such questions can be asked, but these are more likely questions that can come for you. Now, tips for answering the paper. When you answer the paper, as I've always said, and even repeated for maths, relax, don't be nervous. Whatever you know now, you answer. Forget about what you could have done. Always make sure to scan the paper before you start answering and then time your answers. Like, okay, you have 3 main questions and I have 10 marks to answer in each question. I allot some later. If you get stuck somewhere, then leave that question, move forward and come back to the question later on. Answer difficult questions last, that's what I said. And do not leave any question. Even if you do not know what to answer over there, write something. And you can write the question also, because if it is wrong, chances are you may get marks for it if the question is wrong. But if you have not attempted at all, you will not get any marks at all. Make sure any figures that you draw, diagrams, make sure they're big and properly labeled. Avoid erasing. Okay, does it look neat? So be neat, write question numbers clearly against wherever you are answering. Make sure you write the correct question numbers against it. Do not forget to write units on solving problems, like whether it is centimeters, kilograms, meters, D, whatever. Make sure that without units, the numbers have no meaning, no value. Read application questions carefully. Sometimes we happen to answer questions, and we see the question, we associate it with something that we have already answered. We get overconfident and we answer the wrong thing without looking how it is worded. So make sure you answer questions carefully. Then coming to, once you finish the paper, make sure you go through the entire paper and see you have answered each and every question, answered it correctly. If you have any doubts, go through that. Don't be overconfident that I have answered everything, everything is correct. No, look for mistakes in your paper. Okay, so try to look at your paper as if you are the teacher correcting somebody else's paper, and you will find some mistakes. Do it like that to eliminate all the mistakes and make sure you get as maximum marks as possible. Overall, no need to take tension. Whatever you have studied now, go ahead with that. Now, there are no shortcuts to success, but we can work hard and increase our chances of success. It is how successful we are depends on how much hard work we have put in, how smartly we have worked towards reaching that success. Now, I put it down as 50%, 75%, 100%, but it applies to every student. You should know your syllabus well. What is there in the syllabus, okay, and how much you have studied from that syllabus. Always start with easier topics because that gets your brain engine running. Okay, it's like a small warm-up. Then you can challenge yourself with some bigger topics or complex topics. Avoid new topics for study at the last moment. Okay, we try to see, can we get some more marks? In trying to get some more, you may lose some more. So avoid that thing. Avoid confusing your brain. Study as per your target. So, but saying that doesn't mean you lower your target and then study for it. Okay, keep a higher target, push yourself. Okay, but don't keep on changing targets unless you have really aim low and you've studied and you feel now you can do more, that's another case. Practice all your diagrams, okay? The more you practice, the more perfect you will become at it. Practice problems, write definitions separately and keep maybe on a piece of paper, or maybe just write what all definition can come, okay, like biomagnification, some other definitions, okay, so something like it. You can just write maybe just the what definitions can come on a separate piece. So when you go for an exam, you can just glance through them. Even write any formulas that you or laws that are there, like laws of reflection or refraction. Put them separately down, so it becomes easier for quick revision. Referring to additional material, if you can, then okay. But if do not try to stress yourself in trying to study more and more towards the end. Solve previous test papers. Even if you have not done it till now, even one paper if you solve from previous years or even from any preparatory book, it will boost your confidence. It will give you an idea how much you have prepared for the paper. And take sufficient rest. Drink water that is very hot, okay, and take sufficient rest. If you have a cool and calm mind, then you will be able to execute your exams perfectly well up to your satisfaction. Okay, a tired mind will not help you. Okay, a tired mind is like a tired friend who is in no position to help you. But you give your friend at the moment is your brain sufficient rest, it will surely be by your side during your examination. Okay. So with this, we come to the end of this video. Overall, what I've tried to stress on is try to focus on whatever you have done. Okay. Don't try to do anything new. I hope you have liked watching this video. If you like watching this video, hit the like button. Share this video with your friends and classmates. They may also benefit from you. And if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. It definitely helps me. Also, share this channel with those who are in the 9th going out of the 10th. It will be helpful for them as well. Okay. I wish you all the best for your examination and for your future. God bless you. Thank you for watching. Keep watching. Thanks.